Welcome to Tap the Vault, the podcast where we break into the most impactful ideas from best-selling, cult classic, and underrated books. I'm Dex, your curious host asking the questions you're probably thinking.
And I'm Ray, your resident book explorer, here to unpack the insights and bring the big ideas to life so you can actually use them.
Today we're diving into a book that's either going to blow your mind or make you a little uncomfortable. Probably both. It's The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss.
This one's not about working harder or being more productive in the usual way. It's about flipping your entire idea of what work even means and how much of it you actually need to do to live a great life.
Yeah, Ferriss pretty much throws a grenade at the whole 9-to-5 retire at 65 model. He asks, what if the dream life isn't something you wait decades for, but something you could design right now?
Exactly. He calls it lifestyle design, and it's built around 4 main ideas: definition, elimination, automation, and liberation. We're going to break all of those down in this episode.
And let me say up front, you do not need to be a tech bro, a CEO, or some digital nomad with a drone to make this stuff work. This book is surprisingly grounded once you get past the flashy title.
That's the thing. Underneath all the big claims is a pretty practical philosophy. If you stop blindly following the rules of traditional success, you can actually build a life that works for you, not just a life full of work.
All right, let's get into the first big idea, redefining success. Ferriss introduces this group he calls the new rich. And no, it's not about yachts and private jets, although I wouldn't turn those down.
Same here. But the new rich aren't chasing flashy stuff just to flex. What sets them apart is how they think about time, freedom, and what money is actually for. It's not about being rich in dollars, it's about being rich in choices.
Right, he basically says most of us don't want $1 million. We want what we think $1 million can buy. The freedom to travel, to work less, to have more time with our families, or do something meaningful.
And that's the shift. The new rich design their lives around those outcomes, not around accumulating money just for security or status. They focus on creating time and mobility, things that let them live like millionaires without necessarily being one.
It's kind of like Ferriss is saying, you don't need to retire at 65 if you can live the life you want at 35. But that only works if you stop deferring your happiness to some later date.
Exactly. The traditional model is work for 40 years, save up, and then enjoy life. Ferriss flips that. He wants you to inject freedom and adventure now, not just hope you're healthy enough to enjoy it later.
And he doesn't pretend that's easy, but he does argue that it's possible and more practical than we think, especially once you realize that what you really want might cost way less than you imagined.
That's one of his smartest points. People chase money without ever calculating what they actually need. The new rich start by defining what a rich life looks like to them, then reverse engineer it. That clarity is powerful.
So once you start thinking like the new rich, the next step is getting your time back. And Ferriss doesn't waste any time going after the biggest villain of all, busy work.
He's ruthless about it. One of his core arguments is that being busy isn't the same as being productive. In fact, he calls busyness a form of laziness because it lets you avoid the hard work of figuring out what actually matters.
That hit me hard. I mean, I've definitely had days where I've answered 100 emails and still felt like I got nothing done. And apparently that's not an accident.
It's not. It's a trap a lot of us fall into, checking boxes just to feel accomplished. But Ferriss says if you're not careful, you'll spend all your time on low-value tasks and never get to the stuff that actually changes your life or business.
Which is wild because it feels like you're being productive. You're moving, responding, crossing things off. But then you look up and realize you haven't actually made progress on anything important.
Exactly. That's why he introduces 2 key ideas to fix that: the 80-20 rule and Parkinson's law. First, the 80-20 rule says that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. So the smart move is to focus only on that high-impact 20%. That's a vault key, Dex. Focus on the 20% of tasks that drive 80% of your results and cut the rest.
And ditch, or at least delay, the rest, right? Like, if only a few tasks really move the needle, why am I spending my whole day obsessing over my inbox?
Right. Ferriss actually recommends identifying your personal 20%, the clients, tasks, or projects that drive the most value, and doubling down on just those. The rest, delegate it, automate it, or let it go.
That made me rethink my entire to-do list. I had tasks rolling over for months. Ferriss would say if it hasn't mattered by now, it probably never will.
Right. And that ties directly into Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time you give it. Block out 8 hours, it'll take 8. Block 2, you'll likely finish in 2.
That explains why I write emails faster right before lunch. The deadline isn't fake, it's hunger. But seriously, I've started setting shorter time blocks for everything, and it's shocking how much I can get done when I know the clock's ticking. Here's another vault key. Set tight deadlines, because work expands to fill the time you give it.
And that's the whole idea. Create artificial constraints to force focus. You don't need more hours. You need better structure. And once you start doing that, you get back control over your schedule instead of letting it control you.
So basically, shorten your deadlines, trim your to-do list, and stop feeding the beast of constant activity. Ferriss even talks about going on a low-information diet.
That one's big. He limits news, email, meetings, all the stuff we think is essential, but usually just drains our focus. He even suggests checking email only twice a day, which sounds terrifying at first, but is a game changer once you try it.
I've tried that. First few days I was twitching every time I heard a notification ding. Now, my brain actually feels quieter, and I get more done in the first hour of the day than I used to all morning.
Because your attention isn't being pulled in 20 directions. The goal is to create space for the stuff that actually matters and gives you leverage, not just things that make you feel busy.
And I like that he doesn't romanticize multitasking. He wants us to stop reacting to every ping and start being intentional with our time.
Right? Productivity isn't about cramming more in, it's about doing less with more impact. When you eliminate the noise, you make room for what really drives progress. And that's where real momentum comes from.
All right, so let's say I've cut the busy work and reclaimed some time. Now what? I still need to make a living. This is where Ferriss gets into what might be the most talked about part of the book, automation.
This is where it gets really practical. Ferriss wants you to stop trading time for money. Instead, he teaches you how to build systems that run without you, or at least with minimal involvement. That's where automation comes in.
And he's not just talking about tech or apps. One of his favorite tools, virtual assistants. He literally outsourced his email, his scheduling, even his online dating to remote assistants.
Yes, and he explains how it's surprisingly affordable. We're not talking about hiring a full-time executive assistant in New York. These are global contractors, folks who are skilled, professional, and can take hours of work off your plate for a fraction of what your time is worth.
It blew my mind that he was having someone in India handle customer service emails while he was off learning tango in Argentina. And the wild part? His business didn't fall apart. It got better.
Exactly. The point isn't to offload everything, but to start asking, what am I doing that someone else could do for me at a fraction of the cost? That shift in thinking opens up so much possibility.
It's kind of like running your life like a business, right? Delegating anything that doesn't need your specific touch. And then Ferriss takes it even further with the concept of a muse.
That's a core idea. A muse is a small automated business that brings in consistent income with minimal effort. It's not about scaling to millions. It's about funding your ideal lifestyle while freeing up your time.
And I love that it doesn't have to be flashy or even all that original. It could be something simple like selling a kitchen gadget, a digital course, or even a niche ebook. The goal isn't to impress. It's to sustain freedom.
Right? Ferriss walks through real examples from people who created one small, well-positioned product and let the systems handle the rest. It's all about building something that works for you, not the other way around.
It really flips the script on entrepreneurship. We're used to thinking it means 100-hour weeks and nonstop hustle.
But Ferriss asks, what if you could launch something lean, automate the boring parts, and then step back? It's about designing income that supports your life, not chasing scale.
And honestly, even if you don't want to start a business, just thinking about where your time is going and how much of it has to be you is a game changer.
It is. Whether you're building a muse or just delegating your inbox, the ultimate goal is to, here's a vault key, create income that supports your life without owning your time. That's what gives you freedom. That's what lets you start living your design.
So we've defined success, eliminated the fluff, and automated the income. But here's the big question. What do you do with all that freedom?
That's where Ferriss introduces the idea of liberation. It's not just about working less, it's about creating mobility, the freedom to live and work from anywhere, and the flexibility to shape your days around what matters most to you.
And this is where that whole mini retirement idea comes in, right? Instead of saving travel or passion projects for the end of your life, you sprinkle them throughout.
Exactly. It's a total reframe. Why wait until you're 65 to go hiking in Patagonia or spend a month writing your novel in a cabin when you could start building those breaks into your life now?
And it doesn't mean abandoning your job or becoming a van life influencer. Ferriss makes it clear, you can keep working, but do it in a way that supports living, not just surviving until the weekend.
Ferriss challenges the old model of working for decades to finally enjoy yourself later. Instead, he encourages you to take intentional breaks now, short periods of travel, learning, or just living fully without quitting your career or blowing up your life.
That's such a shift. Most people feel like they need permission to do something like that, or they think it's only for the ultra-rich, but he shows it can actually cost less than staying home and working nonstop.
Right? He compares the cost of living in places like Thailand or South America to what you're spending on rent, utilities, and Starbucks at home. And suddenly that someday trip doesn't seem so far away.
It's also about breaking the myth that meaningful living has to be delayed. Ferriss is saying, start doing the things that light you up now, even in small doses.
And that's the beauty of the whole system. He's not selling escapism. He's showing you how to redesign your reality, one experiment at a time, starting with small decisions that free your time and focus.
Like taking a day off midweek to explore a hobby, or working remotely from a new city for a month. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Exactly. You can start small. The point is to take control of your time and ask, what would my life look like if I didn't have to wait for permission to live it?
All right, so let's bring it home. What's one thing someone listening can actually do this week to start moving toward this lifestyle?
Try Ferriss's dreamlining exercise. Here's a vault key. Just list what you'd do, have, and be if time and money weren't limits, and then figure out how much it would actually cost. You'll probably be surprised at how reachable your dream life really is.
And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize you don't need to escape your life. You just need to redesign it.
Because in the end, the real success isn't just about working less. It's about living more on your terms. That means creating space for what really matters, whether it's your passions, your people, or simply your peace of mind. Thanks for tapping into the vault with us today. Until next time, keep unlocking your potential, stay curious, and remember, your version of success is the only one that counts.